ever had something in your house that was put somewhere and then sort of forgotten about, and it was in a place that wasn't convenient or a place where this thing belonged, but maybe you and Dan the Ham and Nall the dog just kind of kept going around it and stepping around it, and soon it just became a fixture there and you kind of forgot about it. Have you ever had anything like that? Or maybe even in your city or your neighborhood where you live, there's something there that you just, everyone walks past and doesn't belong there, but you just all sort of start to accept it?
We do have one of those in my neighborhood because one day, what do you call it? Like a manhole. Water was pouring out of a manhole. I guess it had rained a lot. Some kind of water pipe somewhere underground had burst. And this manhole was just pouring out water. And it took the city, like the people in charge of fixing these things, it took them 3 days to come out and deal with it. So in the meantime, the neighbors kind of all got together and put up like cones or chairs like around it so that people didn't, like, so we all knew it was there, nobody drove over it. And eventually, because it was taking so long for this huge water problem to get fixed, someone made a sign for it called, you know, the neighborhood waterfall. And people would come and take pictures with the sign. It had a little hashtag going on Instagram for a little while. And you know what? When it got fixed and all those cones went away and it was all dried up, I missed it a little.
You missed it. Okay, so an exploding water-filled manhole became your neighborhood's waterfall. It's fountain. And people started to accept it. That is so interesting that you say that, Tori, because I have got a story for you out of Italy, where in 1974, a man named Angelo Frigolent, he parked his car outside of the business that he ran with his wife every day. He would just park it there in front of the business, and then he'd end the day for work, and then he'd drive it home, and every day he'd do this again. Well, one day, he parked his car in front of the business, and he just never moved it again. I guess he maybe walked home, he was done with the car, whatever, but he never moved the car again. Fast forward to 2001, Angelo is now 94 years old, and guess what, Tori? The car is still in the exact spot where he parked it that fateful day in 1974.
Almost 40 years ago?
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, over time, it's...
Oh my gosh, 50 years
almost
ago.
50 years ago, yeah.
Oh, man.
So over time, you know, people, I'm sure for a while there were, and this car is it's in bad shape. Cute car, once upon a time, but now it's in bad shape. So, you know, people, I'm sure for the first few years, maybe first few months even, were thinking, wow, is anyone ever going to move this car? I mean, it's legally parked. It's an actual parking spot. But, you know, years went by, and slowly people started to accept and even enjoy the fact that this old car was still in the same parking spot. And then it's kind of become a local landmark, sort of like your geyser of a manhole. It became a landmark, and tourists who would visit this town would stop and take photos of themselves with this car, and they would upload them to social media. And now the car is at risk. Oh, by the way, it's got 4 flat tires at this point. Probably comes as no surprise. So now there is a plan in this town to remove the parking spot where this car is parked, along with 3 other parking spots along the side of this street where the car is parked. So, you know, the locals, who have since grown to love this car that has not moved since 1974 from its parking spot in the street, are trying to come up with a way to move this vehicle to a place where it can continue to be admired by people who come visit. And the original owner, Angelo, 94 years old, still alive, really has been pleased with the attention that his car has received over the decades, and wants to see this admiration of it continue. So I just love the fact this guy is probably just walking down the street casually every now and then saying, oh, Yep, my car's still there. Oh, yeah, there's people taking pictures outside of it. But this gray, the car was called a Lancia Fulvia. I've never heard, it's a European car. I've never heard of one before. It must have been cute back in the day. Bad shape now. But I just love the fact that this car parked in the same spot for almost 50 years. Oh boy, we've got a bike, Tori, out in the street in front of us, across the street. There is a bike perched up next to a telephone pole, and it's been there now for 4 days. And I keep meaning to maybe send a note to like the neighborhood association saying, hey, does this bike belong to anyone? But yesterday I thought, no, I'm curious to see how long this bike lasts there. I mean, surely someone's going to eventually just take it, even if it's not theirs, I'm guessing. So I think someone abandoned this bike on the side of our street. I don't know. So I would love to know, if you're listening right now, if you've got a story of something that your family or your neighborhood or your neighbors, something that's existed in one spot where it doesn't belong, but everyone just grows to accept it. You get so used to this thing being in the wrong spot that it stops bothering you after a while. You just kind of work around it. It becomes a fixture in your life. So if you've got a story like this, Tori, right now we've got a one stair going upstairs, one stair that is covered in wigs from Halloween week. And everyone is now stepping over the wigs. Not one of us has thought to move the wigs to where they belong. They are covering the step, and we all step over them every time we go up or down the stairs.
See,
I'm curious.
You're all thinking someone else will take care of this. Oh, someone else will do it. Me? I couldn't possibly do it.
I'm just curious to see how long these wigs stay on the stairs. So if you've got something like this, kids or grown-ups, give us a call now. 1-866-328-2345. We are all the same.